Hello everybody, my name is Getty202 and welcome back to Pokemon Fire Red. Last time, we traveled all around the region, taking care of a little bit of business here and there, catching a couple of Pokemon, including a brand new one. We also got a couple of items, and all of that was in preparation to go south to head here to Cinnabar Island. This time, we're going to be exploring Cinnabar Island and everything that it has to offer. First thing we're going to do, of course, is be told that we cannot interact with the gym because the door is locked. No, but in all seriousness, we're going to go to the Pokemon Center because we're here. Get everyone healed up nice and quickly. Especially Ratoshi, because he put a lot of effort into our last encounter. Let's see what the people here have to say. I came to visit the Cinnabar gym, but the door is locked tight. There should be a key for it somewhere. Could it be in that burned out mansion? The gym leader's friend used to live there, they say. Okay, so a little bit of hint on how we can get into the gym. We'll have to keep that in mind for very soon. Hello. Do you have lots of friends? Linking up with the usual friends is fun, of course. But how about visiting the union room every so often? Who knows, you may end up making new friends. I think it would be worth your time to check the union room. I think it won't be, but that is your opinion, old man. Pokemon can still learn techniques after canceling evolution. Evolution can wait until new moves have been learned. That is a perfectly valid thing to say. Because some Pokemon just can't learn certain moves after they evolve. Speaking of which, I'm going to go into the PC here and I'm going to get the Raichu and Venonat that I talked about last time. I had mentioned that we're going to need a Raichu and Venonat for something that's coming up, and now that we are at Cinnabar Island, we're going to need them for that specific something. So I'm going to switch them out with Ratoshi and Rock Lee. Leave them in the box. Me absolutely certain that I have the Raichu and not Ratoshi. And we're gonna head out. What do you have to say? Scientists conduct experiments in the burned out building. You know, the one they call the Pokemon Mansion. Alright, so another allusion to Pokemon Mansion. Pokemon Lab. So this is a Pokemon Lab in Cinnabar Island, and there is lots for us to do here. So, first of all, I want to talk to you. We study Pokemon extensively every day. People often bring us rare Pokemon for examination. Okay. Kind of give us some insight as to what's going on here. Pokemon Lab Meeting Room. There are some people here I want to talk to. Hello there, do you happen to have a Raichu? Would you agree to trade for my Electrode? Yes, I will do this. This is another in-game trade that you can do. It's not necessarily for a particularly rare Pokemon, but if you want to get an Electrode that gets that boost from being traded away, then this is a way that you can get that Electrode. Plus, I myself do not have an Electrode at the moment because every attempt I've made on one has caused it to explode, so I'm happy to get this. So now we have E-Sphere, or S-Sphere, depending on how you want to say it. Take a get of S-Sphere. Thanks! Now let's take a look and see what we got here. Okay, so S-Sphere originally belonged to Clifton. Nothing particularly notable other than it has the one electric move that it actually learns leveling up, but that's what you get when you get a level 22 S-Sphere, because of course we trade away a level 22 Raichu. Found this most remarkable fossil inside Mount Moon. I think if it's of a rare prehistoric Pokemon. Okay, it's a good thing to make note of. Pretty picture Pokemon. Looks like it's feeling good. And then there's you. Hi, do you have a Venonat? Want to trade it for my Tangela? Yes, I do. I will absolutely trade away Venonat for Tangela, even though we did just get a Tangela from the last episode. This Tangela does have a little extra something for us, so it is somewhat worth our time. And now we have Tangni, or Tangeni. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Thanks, you're a pal. Okay. Yeah, so this Tangeni has a little extra thing from us. We have the Stardust. It's another item that you can sell, but hey, useful nevertheless. Like I said, it has Chlorophyll for the ability, which doubles the speed in Sunshine. It has Absorb, Growth, Poison Powder, and Vine Whip. Again, not the rarest things in the world, but if you want to get Pokemon that get that little extra boost from experience, they are easier to raise because of that. So it's worth pointing out if nothing else. Now that we got that little bit of business taken care of, next place I want to go is the R&D room. I'll teach you a nifty move. Teach it to a Pokemon and watch the fun unfold. It's a move called Metronome. Does it strike your fancy? So this is another tutorial move that you can get from here. And this is actually a really interesting move. So Metronome is essentially a move where you use it and then the Pokemon that uses the move uses a random move. And it can be anything. It can be anything from Tackle to Explosion to Solar Beam to, I mean, literally anything can happen when you use Metronome. It is a fun move to use in certain situations, and if you want to add a little bit of variety to the overall experience of things, it can definitely be fun. But if you're trying to do things seriously, or especially if you're trying to do things competitively, this is not necessarily the move for you. However, I would be remiss if I didn't point out one thing about Metronome in this specific game. Metronome, in most other Pokemon games, cannot be learned by a whole lot of Pokemon. There are only like a very few Pokemon that actually learn Metronome leveling up. However, this is the only time where Metronome can be taught with a move tutor, and as such, it would be a very long time before you could teach Metronome to just any other Pokemon. At this point in the series, this is one of the only ways to teach Metronome to a lot of Pokemon. And some Pokemon that you wouldn't even think could learn Metronome can learn Metronome specifically from this tutorial. Even if you don't want to teach it to a Pokemon, you definitely want to keep this in the back pocket if there's a specific Pokemon that you want to teach Metronome to, because for the longest time, this was the only way in the franchise to get Metronome on most Pokemon. I tell you, it's a lot of fun. I agree, but it's not for me. Not today. Eevee can evolve into one of 3 kinds of Pokemon. In this game, that is true. The last room that I want to go to, Pokemon Lab, testing room. I'm looking for the Pokemon Ponyta. Want to trade for my Seal? We don't have the ability to get Ponyta right this moment, so we'll have to keep this in the back burner for a little while. But trust me, we're not too far off. Now, I want to talk to you. Hiya! I'm an important doctor. Yes, very much so indeed. Here, I study rare Pokemon fossils. All the time, actually. You! Have you a fossil for me? Yes, I have 2 different fossils. And now that we have finally talked to this specific man, we can finally do something with these specific fossils. If you give these fossils to him, you will get one of 3 Pokemon depending on what specific fossil that you give to him. And I would like to take the time to go over these Pokemon before we hand over any of the fossils. So, first of all, let's talk about the one that we did not get, unfortunately, just because of how the game works. If we give him the Dome Fossil, we get Kabuto. Now, Kabuto is a pretty interesting Pokemon. It's a rock-water Pokemon that has really good attack and really good defense. And it actually has pretty decent moves leveling up. In fact, it has a wide variety of moves as well. It learns Mudshot at level 25, Endure at level 37, Metal Sound at level 43, which is really good for lowering the target's special defense. And despite being a rock type, it learns Mega Drain at level 49 and Ancient Power at level 55, which are both pretty decent moves. And again, Mega Drain is not something you would normally see on a rock water type, so it's actually pretty good. Now, the only big problem with Kabuto is that its special stats are not very good, and it doesn't learn any water type moves leveling up, which isn't really a problem because, again, we always have Surf. But even if we do teach it Surf, it doesn't really have the stats to back it up. In later generations, when some water moves become physical attacks, Kabuto and its evolution Kabutops become excellent Pokemon and do really well with the moves that they are able to learn, such as Aqua Jet and Waterfall, but that's not applicable to this specific game. Still, it's a pretty good Pokemon. Just understand that if you do get Kabuto, you are going to mostly be relying on the fact that it's a rock type over a water type. And next up, if you get the Helix fossil, you get Lord Helix! May his reign be long and prosperous! May he shine the light of glory upon our mortal souls! Okay, but in all seriousness, if you give this scientist the Helix fossil, you get Lord Helix himself, Ammonite. And like Kabuto, Ammonite is also a rock-water Pokemon that has really good special attack and physical defense stats, so it's actually able to take more advantage of the fact that it's a water type. While it doesn't have as good of a moveset as, say, Kabuto, it is able to do some really cool things. First of all, it has the ability Swift Swim, which doubles Ammonite's speed when it's in rain. Ammonite and its evolved form Amistar don't have great speed, but with rain and Swift Swim, it instantly becomes a really good sweeper. Plus, again, even though it doesn't learn very good moves leveling up, the few moves that it does learn are able to take, well, good advantage of its type. And again, there is always Surf. But aside from that, it learns Mud Shot at level 25, Spike Cannon at level 40, Tick at level 46, Ancient Power at level 55, and Hydro Pump at level 65. So, while it does take a little bit of work to get some of the better moves on it through level up, it can still be a really good Pokemon, and again, there is always Surf. Now, as for the last Pokemon that we can get, if we give the scientist the Old Amber, we get a really good Pokemon in the form of Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is arguably one of the best flying Pokemon in the game. It's a rock flying type, has really good attack and speed, and an excellent moveset. It really is just a great addition to any team. It learns great moves leveling up, such as Ancient Power and Wing Attack. Aside from that, it learns Scary Face at level 36, Takedown level 43, and Hyper Beam at level 50, which is crazy. But it also learns really good moves via TM, including Dragon Claw, Hidden Power, Iron Tail, Earthquake, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Aerial Ace, Steel Wing. It learns really, really good stuff. Additionally, if you do decide to add Aerodactyl to your team, I recommend that you get an Aerodactyl with the ability Rockhead. Rockhead makes it so that way a Pokemon that uses moves that would normally deal recoil damage does not take the recoil damage, which means you can have Aerodactyl use Double Edge all you want, and Aerodactyl will not take any recoil damage at all. Now, you'll notice that I've been relatively positive about these three Pokemon, especially in comparison to some of my other bios. And there's a good reason for that. And it's not just because, they're all relatively good Pokemon, and they would be very helpful in some of the upcoming battles moving forward. The other reason is because all of these Pokemon, for some reason, start off at level 5. Despite the fact that several of the last gift Pokemon that we've been obtaining start off at level 25, these Pokemon, when you revive them, start at level 5. And as such, they are very difficult for me to recommend because they arrive so late in the game. Despite the fact that how genuinely helpful they would be against what we have coming up if they just came at a higher level. Obviously, there is the EXP share, and obviously it's not impossible to do. But if you want to use these Pokemon earnestly for the main story, you are going to have to commit a lot of time to getting them caught up to your team. And by the time that you do that, more likely than not, you will have been finished with the main story anyway. If you want to use these Pokemon, that is fine. And I'm not saying you can't make it work, but you just have to understand that what you get is very good, but also very, very low level for this point in the game. But that's not going to stop me from reviving them anyway. So let's go ahead and work on the Helix fossil first. Oh, that is a Helix fossil it is. It is a fossil of Ammonite, a Pokemon that is already extinct. My resurrection machine will make that Pokemon live again. So, you hurry, give me that. Griffin handed over the Helix fossil to the weird doctor. I take a little time. You go for a walk for a little while. Now, he says a little while. But as soon as you come back in, you're late. Where were you? Your fossil is back to life. It was Ammonite, like I think. We got the Ammonite from the doctor. Do I want to give a nickname to the Ammonite? Well, of course I do. Lord Helix, may his reign last! Okay. Ammonite was transferred to the PC. Alright, and now that we have gotten that taken care of, let's deal with the old Amber. It is a fossil of Aerodactyl, a Pokemon that's already extinct. A resurrection machine will make that Pokemon live again. Let's go ahead and do it. And now we're going to awkwardly step out for one moment and instantly come back over. You late, where were you? I'm not going to be giving a nickname to Aerodactyl, but of course, if you want to give a nickname to Aerodactyl, feel free to recommend one in the comments. Now let's take a look at what we got here. There's Lord Helix. And like I said, it comes at level 5, and so does Aerodactyl. Oh, nice! It came with Rockhead. Great! I'll be sure to keep that in mind while I don't use it. Now, even though we have just talked about 3 new Pokemon that we can get from the Pokemon Lab, those are not the only new Pokemon that we can find around Celadon City. If we were to decide to surf along the coast of Celadon City specifically, we will find Missing Number. No, in all seriousness, there are 2 new Pokemon that we can find along the coast, or rather, one of 2 new Pokemon, depending on which version you're playing. So, first of all, let's talk about what we get. Exclusive to Pokemon Fire Red, we can finally get Shelder. Now, despite the fact that I have made Shelder look relatively weak, do not sleep on this Pokemon. Shelder's defenses are off the scale. It is a super physically defensive Pokemon and does excellent in this regard. It has honestly like the highest defense in the entire game. Not to mention, it has pretty good attack and special attack. It is not weak. Unlike a lot of really defensive Pokemon, this Pokemon can still do some pretty decent damage. Now, Shelder's moveset mostly focuses on ice moves, such as Icicle Spear and Aurora Beam, because when it evolves into Cloyster, it becomes a water-ice type. But even though its moveset mostly focuses on ice types, once again, that argument is relatively invalid because, like all water types, Shelder and Cloyster can learn Surf. So if you're worried about that, don't. Shelder and Cloyster can learn Surf to bypass this issue, so you can just focus on trying to get its good ice moves. This Pokemon is easily a contender for one of the absolute best water Pokemon in the game. It is easily right up there with Vaporeon or Lapras. If you wanted to get a water-ice type but wanted something just a little bit more defensive as opposed to HP focused, this is definitely the water-ice type for you. Now, as for what's available in Leaf Green, unfortunately only available in Leaf Green, we can get, or rather we could get, Staryu. Now, Staryu is one of those Pokemon that, across pretty much every single generation, has just been one of the absolute best water Pokemon in the game. It truly is a tried and true Pokemon. Has decent stats across the board, has a really good moveset, and it's just generally good. It always only gets better. Staryu gets excellent moves leveling up, including Recover, Light Screen, and Bubble Beam. Plus, it gets Hydro Pump at level 46. Now, unfortunately, if you do want to take advantage of Staryu in its evolved form, Starmie, you are probably going to need to invest just a little bit. I highly recommend, if you want to use this Pokemon earnestly, this would be the Pokemon I'd recommend teaching the Psychic TM, because once it evolves into Starmie, Staryu will become a Water Psychic type, and this is actually the good Water Psychic type. Not that Slowbro isn't good, but I would argue that Staryu is the best Water Psychic type in the game. Between Psychic and Surf and then whatever else you want to teach Staryu or Starmie, it can be just an absolutely devastating force that will destroy anything that is in front of it. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's try to actually catch a Shelder for ourselves. I'm not going to be using Shelder, of course, on my team because we have Gully Wash, but I can always use Shelder for the sake of completing the Pokedex. It has occurred to me that I need to be using the Super Rod if I want to get Shelder, so why don't we do that, so that way I don't look like an idiot for 10 minutes. Ah, there we go! Shelder! Now I'm hoping Shelder can take a quick attack, because it does have really good physical defense. Yes. All right, we got Shelder. Shelder, the bivalve Pokemon. It is encased in a shell that is harder than diamond. Inside, however, it is surprisingly tender. As always, if you'd like to give a nickname to Shelder, feel free to do so in the comments. Now, if you think that we're done here in Celadon City, oh boy, you are mistaken. We still have a lot of work to do today. Hello? Cinnabar's Jim Blaine is quite the odd fellow. He's lived on the island since way before the lab was built. Interesting. What does the sign say about Blaine? Cinnabar Island Pokemon Gym, Leader Blaine, the hot-headed Quizmaster. Interesting. To keep that in mind for later. Now right here we have Cinnabar Island, the fiery town of burning desire. Well, that's not quite what I meant, but that makes sense, I guess. We want to go in here. Welcome to the Pokemon Mansion. This is one of the creepiest locations in the Kanto region. Not necessarily as explicitly creepy as, say, Lavender Town's Pokemon Tower, but this is kind of a different creepy in of itself. Part of that is because of the music, but another part of that is because of the atmosphere and the lore surrounding this place. And trust me, we'll be getting into that very shortly. But before we do, we need to talk about 2 more Pokemon that we can find here. Boy, Editor Griffin's gonna have a field day with this episode. One of the Pokemon that we can find here is Coughing. Now, fans of the original show will probably recognize this Pokemon. We've seen it a handful of times. Coughing is a pure poison Pokemon with very high defense and decent attack stats. Coughing's moveset is very weird. It's mostly based on, well, self-sacrifice for better good, for lack of better term. Its moveset includes Self-Destruct and Explosion. We've seen this a couple of times, most of it Voltorb and Electrode. But as a reminder, Self-Destruct and Explosion are stupidly powerful normal-type moves that deal lots of damage, but it completely costs the user's entire HP to use them. Additionally, Coughing also learns Destiny Bond and Memento leveling up, which also focus around it fainting. Destiny Bond makes it so that way the Pokemon who uses it is essentially bracing itself to be knocked out. But if it does get knocked out after using Destiny Bond, whatever Pokemon knocked it out will also faint along with it. And then there is Memento, which is a move that causes Coughing to faint, but will severely lower the opposing Pokemon's attack and special attack by 2 stages. Aside from that, it learns some relatively generic poison moves that you would expect it to learn. Poison Gas, Smog, Sludge, Haze. You've seen it plenty of times. You've seen how annoying it can be. I would only recommend this Pokemon for the extremely long game if you're trying to be somewhat competitive with it. But if you don't mind having a Pokemon that's just going to sacrifice itself all the time, it's not the worst thing out there. It just may not be the absolute best thing for kind of the long game of what we have to do in the later portions of the main story. Regardless of whether or not you want to use Coughing, it will evolve into Weezing at level 35. So it's not going to be that far off from evolving depending on what level you catch it at. As for the other Pokemon that you can get here, you can get Grimer. Finally, am I right? Grimer, like Coughing, is also a pure poison type. Although unlike Coughing, Grimer does not have the benefit of the ability Levitate. Instead, it gets Sticky Hold, which basically makes it so that way Pokemon cannot steal items from Grimer, and then Stench, which just lowers wild Pokemon encounter rates. Not the best thing ever, but that's not all there is to it. It's meant to be kind of an annoying tank, for lack of better term. It has really good defensive moves such as Minimize and Acid Armor, which raises its evasiveness and defenses. And it also learns pretty good poison moves. It learns both Sludge and Sludge Bomb leveling up. Sludge Bomb is one of the best poison type moves in the game, which not only inflict good damage, but also, as you can expect, have a chance of inflicting poison. Despite the fact that Grimer actually has some decent HP and good defense stats, as far as fulfilling the role of a tank, there are better Pokemon that fulfill this role a lot easier. In fact, we saw one just outside in the form of Shelder. Still, Grimer is not the worst thing out there, and it's not that far off from evolving into Muck at level 38 if you really want to get it. And unlike other pairs of Pokemon that we've seen, Koffing and Grimer are not necessarily version exclusive. You can find both of them here in the Pokemon Mansion, although where you can find them is a little bit varied depending on which version. So you'll just have to keep that in mind. But the short explanation is that in this particular version, it's going to be a lot easier to find Grimer because he's found throughout the majority of the mansion, whereas Koffing is really only found in one specific part of it. Still, it is my sincere intention to catch both of them, as I typically do with these places. Now that we have gotten the preamble out of the way, let's actually get to the Pokemon Mansion itself. And by that, I mean getting interrupted by a wild Pokemon. Oh! Well, I was not expecting Koffing, I'll just be frank, but hey, I'll take it. It's always so nerve-wracking whenever Koffing... Ah! Ah, Koffing, why? Like I said, self-sacrifice. Now, if you'll excuse me. Oh. Yes. Raticate. You can also find Rattata's evolved form Raticate here. I didn't feel like I needed to go over that because Raticate is just kind of here, as it is an abandoned house. But hey, if you want to catch Raticate, obviously you can do that. Are you serious? Okay, well, we got Raticate, thank God. Raticate, the mouse Pokemon. Its rear feet have 3 toes each. They are webbed, enabling it to swim across rivers. One of the only few Pokédex entries that does not focus on its teeth. As always, if you want to give a nickname to Raticate, feel free to do so in the comments. Okay, now that we've gotten that taken care of. Gah! Alright, Koffing again. Okay. If you're wondering why self-destruct does so much damage, part of that is because of its other effect in this particular game, which is when self-destruct is used, it halves your opponent's defense when the attack lands. So that's why it's doing so much, because you're hitting Raitoshi's defense with half of what it normally would get. Alright, let's focus on exploring the place. So the gimmick of this particular area is that there are statues that open and close certain doors depending on which ones are active and which ones are inactive. So to get through this place, we're going to need to pay close attention to what triggers what. Also, there are trainers here. Because why not? I can't get out. This whole place is one big puzzle. Just go down the stairs. Oh. He has a Charmander. Oh, and now he has a Charmeleon too. Well, here's my be-all end-all solution to Charmeleons. Blastoise. Get gully washed. Oh no, my bag of loot. The switches here open and close alternating sets of doors. Good to know. So, for example, if we flip this, we see that its eyes turn red. We go down here and get interrupted by a wild Pokemon. Diary, July 10th. We christened the newly discovered Pokemon, Mew. Interesting. So there was a door that was blocking this off before, and we opened it with a statue. Well, there's Grimer. Fortunately for us, Grimer does not use self-destruct, which means we'll probably have an easier time catching this thing. Oh my god, Raitoshi! Raitoshi is not having a good day today. I'll be the first to say it. Alright, we got Grimer. Grimer, the sludge Pokemon. Sludge exposed to X-rays from the moon transformed into Grimer. It loves feeding on filthy things. That is such a weird dex entry. The fact that it happens often enough to where it is now its own species of Pokemon is absolutely absurd. Okay, there's coughing. Let's try this again. I'm not even going to damage it at this point, because I know that that's not going to end well for me. I'm just going to try, throw one Pokeball, and be done with this. There we go. Full heal. Was paralyzed, but I'll take it anyway. Grimer, the poison Pokemon. Its thin balloon-like body is inflated by horribly toxic gases. It reeks when it is nearby. Both with Coughing and Grimer, you are free to give them nicknames in the comments. Okay, so this door is now closed because we turned on the statue. So that's part of the gimmick, is that you have to kind of manage which door is open and which one is closed. Diary, July 5th, Guyana, South America. A new Pokemon was discovered deep in the jungle. Okay, so that was 5 days before the other entry. Oh! There's a wild Weezing. I guess my suffering is not over yet. Okay, Raitoshi. Excellent job. Now we have Weezing. Weezing, the poison Pokemon. Very rarely, a sudden mutation can result in two small coughing twins becoming conjoined as a Weezing. Except that all coughing eventually become Weezing by getting it to level 35. Even though mine was caught at level 32, but we'll ignore that for now. We got Weezing, and that's what matters. Feel free to give it a nickname, for God's sake. Alright, and right here we have Calcium. Another stat boosting item. I imagine we're going to find one of each kind here based on pattern recognition. We're going to go ahead and turn the secret switch off. And hopefully that should open the other door. Yes, it did. Thank you very much. And another area where we need to open and close doors. I'm going to go to the right. And up here we get an iron, another stat boosting item. Then we will turn on this secret switch and run to another wild Pokemon. And there is now a scientist that we will not get to because of another wild Pokemon. Yeah, if there's any area that I could recommend maybe buying a repel for, it would be this place. I'm not having the repels active for a handful of reasons, but whether or not that bears any fruit is still up in the air, though it is highly unlikely. My mentor once lived here. Very interesting. I wonder who the mentor was. Guess we'll have to beat scientist Braden in order to find out.
Firstly, don't call your kid Braden.
Critical hit Thrash. Let's go, Kaiser. As always, you are the best. Phew! Overwhelming. So, you're stuck? Try jumping off over there. That's not something you normally should tell people. Well, before I go ahead and do that, I want to actually go back down and try to go up the other set of stairs, because there is more to this place that we can take care of. Oh, right. I forgot that the switches actually affect both floors, so I actually needed to go back up to get this door open again. Alright, what did you say, guy? This place is, like, huge! I didn't think he was gonna battle me at first, because I know he saw me, but he didn't say anything, but I suppose that's what I get for interacting with a burglar. Ooh, a Ninetales. Don't often see those here. And Raitoshi grew to level 42. Very nice. Hiya! Alright, I'm gonna switch Well, no, I need to keep our Toshi in the front for now. All right, one more entry. February 6th, Mew gave birth. We named the newborn Mewtwo. Ooh, the lore! Seriously, I didn't even take a step. I literally just turned. Found a max potion. Very useful. Now let's go back down, and I will see you guys where we need to be next. Okay, now I do believe... Let's check these stairs here. Okay, so there's a little ledge down here. Means it's kind of the lower floor. Found another HP up. That means we've gotten most of the stat boosting vitamins. Now to actually get where we need to go, I believe we need to go down this ledge. Nope. I was mistaken, it would seem. That just brought me down to the next floor. Okay, well, I will go back up. Okay, let's try this ledge now. Ah, here we go. Who are you? There shouldn't be anyone here. Well, here I am to ruin all your stupid plans, Ted. Yeah, that could happen sometimes. I didn't even think about that. Whoops. All right, that was pretty funny. Ouch. I'll say. Our whole plan ended in misery and failure. All right. Found a Carbos. Now then, you need to be extremely careful. That specific exit right there will take you straight outside of the mansion. But if you go through that exit and try to come back in, then you will start at the very beginning of the maze. So I do not recommend that you exit through that door until you are absolutely finished with all of your business here. You can't go up this way. So it looks like we're gonna have to go down. Now we're in the basement area of the mansion, which gives us access to new items, new trainers, and of course, new wild Pokemon. And by that, I mean coughing again. No, it's not really new wild Pokemon. Anyway, what do we have? Oh, never mind! Excuse me! I was trying to get some lore! Uh-oh, where am I now? You're exactly in the wrong place, Lewis. Teacher level 41. Beautiful. Oh, woo! Okay, so now, what do you have to say for yourself? You can find stuff lying around. The residents must have left them. Before we're so rudely interrupted by Lewis over here. Diary, September 1st. Mewtwo is far too powerful. We have failed to curb its vicious tendencies. So it looks like something went awry with their creation, Mewtwo. Gonna flip the switch, and now more doors will be unlocked for us. We'll go here, get a full restore. Very nice. This place is ideal for a lab. Look at all this space. If you say so, buddy. Ooh, lock on. Very rare for us to see that, but of course I did talk about it knowing lock on before, so there you go. There's lock on. Unfortunately, won't be able to do anything with it, but at least you get to see it. What was that for? What do you mean, what was that for? You attacked me! I like it here. It's conducive to my studies. If you say so. I guess this part of the mansion, to be fair, is not all broken down and messed up. So I can see why he would like it. Found TM14 Blizzard. Strongest ice move in the game, though it doesn't have the best accuracy and it also doesn't have a lot of PP. But in terms of raw power, second to none. Okay, we'll press that switch. Opens up this area. And we get interrupted again. We're almost done, guys. I swear, we're almost done. Found one secret key. That is the item that we absolutely have to get before we leave this place. And here we get TM22, Solar Beam. Very useful and fitting that there are so many plants in here. Oh! Okay, that's right. For reasons that kind of have more to do with lore than anything else, you can also find wild Ditto in this area. I completely forgot about that. Okay. God! Okay, after a truly miserable time just trying to get out because there's so many wild Pokemon, we are finally near the end. So I'm just gonna head straight out this door. And now we're at Cinnabar Island again. And again, if I were to go back in, it would not take me back to where I just was. It would take me back to the start of the maze. So I think with all that taken care of, I think we're gonna call it a day. We revived some fossil Pokemon, got a new Pokemon from the ocean, got some new Pokemon from the Pokemon Mansion, but more importantly to the plot, we were able to get the secret key, which should enable us to get into Celadon Gym. Next time on Pokemon Fire Red, we're going to be taking on Blaine, the gym leader of the Celadon Gym. See you guys then.